What's up, everybody? It's your favorite electrician, Doug here. Welcome back to the show. It's been a while. I took some time off, as I mentioned in a little Instagram post, if you hadn't seen it. Sometimes you need some time off. You work hard on something, put your heart and soul into it. And I think that there's this fine line between, having the energy to put out that's positive energy and, your own mental well-being. There's a lot to be said about that. The old burnout. It's a real tricky one. We'll talk a little bit about that in this episode. I wanted to start things off just by talking about something that I experienced this morning because it's the first thing that's on my mind. And, obviously, I don't know if any of you have experienced this before, but this is what happened. So we have these, we've got a friendship with a local real estate team, and these guys are so freaking dynamite. I love working with them. I love every time they send work my way. We can't always get to it because sometimes our schedule's too busy to accommodate things that are a little bit more time sensitive. So sometimes we can't get to it. But anytime I get a chance to help these guys out, I'm ecstatic. They're great guys. They do really good work. They're honest. They put their heart into what they're doing too. And I love making connections with people like that. So we had a recent scenario where they sent an inspection list our way, and we had the time to go do it. Really, really simple project, just GFCI protection of bathrooms in the garage. And this is a 1990s era home, so the bathrooms are stacked. Interestingly, everything's 15 amp, 14 wire. So the garage we protected at the panel, and the bathrooms were all stacked off at GFCI that was actually right next to the panel. So we replaced that one, protected all the GFCIs in the bathrooms. Easy peasy job. Actually cut them a little discount on the final price based on what I quoted because we were able to do it a little cheaper, and I like to do that when I can. So what happened was a couple days go by, and I get an email from our guys saying that the clients don't believe that we GFI protected these circuits. And it's because there isn't a local GFI, right? There's not a GFI in place. We protected at the panel, and then the other GFCI is right next to the panel, protecting the bathrooms. So he sends an email, one of the guys sends an email saying, hey, they're dubious about whether or not they don't believe that these are GFI protected. And I'm like, I wonder why they think that. Like, did they use a GFCI tester to verify their doubt? Because we sure did, and everything's protected. And so it was funny, just a little thing, but this is what stuck in my head. I was really surprised at how pissed off I got about this little scenario. And when you break it all down, it's nothing to be upset about. Like, these people don't know me. They never met me. They weren't even there when we did the job. So it's perfectly reasonable for them to think, hey, maybe this electrician we've never met took us for a ride. I don't think that's unreasonable, especially when you consider what most people's impression of tradespeow seem to be. So, maybe they've had a bad experience in the past. Maybe an electrician burned them, or maybe they, grew up in a culture where people taught them not to trust people in the trades. Maybe they watched these Dateline episodes where, they you ever see these episodes where they basically get a handful of electrical contractors or plumbing contractors. They stage a small problem that needs to be solved, and then they see which contractor takes advantage of the situation and tries to take the people for a ride, and which ones are honest. And it is appalling, right? It is appalling when you see that some people are just dishonest people who are just out to make money, and they don't care what it means or what the cost is. I'm just not like that. Integrity is a big thing for me. It is kind of everything for me. So whenever my integrity is brought into question, there is a fire that starts to burn inside of me because I go the extra mile in my life to show people that I care, and that I show up to repair things if I've done something and it's not working. I do that for free. I don't charge. All those little things to prove that, like, you can trust us. I know that it can be hard to trust tradespeople, but that's what we're here for. And like I said, these people never met me. They don't know me from anybody. So it's reasonable for them to question me, but it's still really, like, I spent the whole morning pissed, like hot, mad. And, I can go out there, meet with them, walk them through and show them everything. But for people to immediately assume that you're a liar is frustrating, right? I think if they meet you, it's a different story. If they can meet you, they can read you. And like I said, it's reasonable for them to doubt me if they've never met me. But man, that really pissed me off. Somebody questioning whether or not I actually did the job. And on top of it, I saved them money. So it's like, damn, I did you guys the best I could, fix your problem, and you're still like, I'm not sure that you actually did it. So that was just something that, one way or the other, it's fine. I'll go, I'm sure, meet with them. And while I'm going through these scenarios in my head, I don't know about you guys, but I end up playing these little roles in my head where I imagine that I meet with the client, walk them through, show them that I did everything accurately. And then they see, maybe my fears were unwarranted. Maybe this is the kind of electrician we're looking for, is somebody who's going to go the extra mile to show us, actually, no, look, you're fine, we did it. So they can trust me. And at the end of the day, what I would like to do is engender trust from them. But at the same time, while I might be the electrician they're looking for in the long run, they're not the clients I'm looking for, right? Those aren't the type of people I want to work for. I don't want to work for people who immediately think of a tradesperson as a crook. And that might not be the case. Maybe they're just covering their asses. And it's easy in situations where you're not in direct communication with somebody to have miscommunications and misunderstandings take place. It's better to confront those things, meet face to face, overcome the fact that we have these uncertainties about each other, and move forward. And that's what we'll do, and that'll be the best outcome. And in fact, we'll probably get a good client out of it. But there's a part of me in the back of my mind that's like, I don't want a client like that. But that's just me feeling frustrated and angry because somebody questioned my integrity. They really didn't even question my integrity. They just questioned the integrity of somebody that they didn't know. And so all those little things come into play to prove that this is a challenging trade for that reason alone. Like, you're constantly managing a multitude of personalities at the same time. You wake up in the morning and go through your communications, and everybody's personality is different. Everybody has different expectations, and everybody has different ideas of who you are, what you might offer them, what they've experienced in the past, what they expect. All of those things are kind of hanging in the ether until you approach them with solid communication. And that's really one of the bigger elements of the work that we do, is communicating to people, helping people feel calm, comfortable, and confident in the work that we've done. And, in this specific instance, it makes perfect sense for them to question me because they didn't meet me. When I go do a job, sometimes I feel like I just overtalk, probably because I do. And I probably over-explain things to people in an attempt to help them understand what my thoughts are on why I'm correcting something a certain way, right? I want people to try to meet me there and say, okay, I see the reasoning behind why you're doing it that way. And when they don't have the chance to meet me and have me walk them through, it's perfectly understandable for them to look at a non-GFCI receptacle in a garage and a non-GFCI receptacle in the bathroom and say, man, did this guy even do this? Makes perfect sense to me. So that was just the first thing that happened this morning. I kind of wanted to talk about it, partly just to get it out there and say, I know you guys experience this too. This is something we all go through in the trades, man. We all experience this. Some clients are easier than others. And when you work really hard to lead with integrity, you can feel shocked when somebody questions that. A little drink of my coffee, yeah. Anyway, that was that's me, red hot mad at 6 a.m, reading an email of somebody who just needs to meet me and walk through the project with me. So we're going to do that this week. I'll find a time. I'll go over there. I'll show them the error of their ways, and we'll make a friendship, and it'll be good. So that's it. I think that's one of the big parts of our trade, right? Interacting, communicating, liaisoning, being an interface between the person and their electrical system. That's what we do. So let's talk a little bit about why I took this break from the show. So man, it's not rocket science. It's burnout. You know, I own this company with Josh. It's a full-time job, obviously, to own a company. It's no joke. And then on top of that, you know, we do the podcast. And, you know, for me, I listen a lot to guys like Gary Vaynerchuk. I think that there's a lot to what he says about, if you've never listened to Gary V, he's like a serial entrepreneur who's constantly working to, you know, grow, get better, make something better, do something smarter. He's a big proponent of utilizing the free social media the social media apps that are at our disposal to, you know, promote yourself effectively, things like that. Now, while I subscribe to guys like that, I subscribe to guys like David Goggins, who is as intense a fitness guy as you're going to find. I get a kick out of them, and they give me the right kind of boost when I need it. But that doesn't mean I'm like them. You know what I mean? I'm not like David Goggins. While I was a Marine, and I come from where he comes from in terms of like overcoming pain and discomfort. I totally get that. At the same time, I'm not trying to live my life in an imbalanced way. Same thing with Gary Vee. Now, I always listen to Gary Vee's books, and one of the things he says all the time is that family is what you do this all for, so that, you know, make sure that when you're doing these things, you're running a business, you're doing your social media marketing, you know, make sure that you're doing it with your family in focus. And he says that, but then that's the only thing he says about his family, and he goes on to continue to talk about how he spends, 24 hours a day working. So I'm not like these guys. I take what they say. I believe in some of the things they say, and it is a motivating force for me. But I also subscribe to guys, like Alan Watts and Eckhart Tolle, and people who believe in the opposite of constant movement. You know, the people who believe in regeneration, taking time to reconnect with yourself and be in harmonious balance. Because for me, you know, when I was chasing stand-up comedy in my 20s and 30s, I was the most out of balance dude you're gonna meet. I was so out of balance. And my life, you know, it took its toll on my life. You know, my relationships suffered. You know, I got divorced when I was younger. Split from my family. None of that seemed to matter to me as much as me making something of myself. There was this real pit inside of me that needed to be filled with the work that I was doing. And I think some of us fall victim to that. It's like we need to prove to ourselves that we're worthwhile, that we're worthy of this path that we're on, whatever the case may be. And it's really easy to get out of balance when you're doing stuff like that. It's easy to find yourself in a marriage where you haven't been on a date with your wife in months. Because you're working, and it's easy to just kind of say, okay, I work a lot, man. I work 7-12s a week. You know, people say that a lot on Instagram. You hear that a lot. Working this 7-12-hour shit. It's like, man, when do you see your family? You know, when do you make time? And I know family is important to everybody. I mean, you could tell me it's not, and I would question that. I think that, you know, the reason that we do most of the things we do is because we have people that depend on us. And for me, it's been a constant struggle to try to find that balance, because I feel this real pull. I feel very, very pulled and compelled to do things like the podcast, or like just communicate with you guys in general. Stand-up comedy, whatever the case may be. I've always been very compelled by this inner force that moves me forward, that says, you're not done yet. Keep going. And I don't necessarily fully understand that inner force, but I do try to honor it and be worthy of it. And in order to do that, you can't just go in a straight line. It's not DC current, you know? Balance in life is alternating current. It's up and it's down. And when you feel yourself hit that burnout, you've got to have touchstones set in place for yourself that help you remember and realize, oh yeah, okay, I'm burned out. This is when I take a break. Because if I don't take a break, I'm going to quit everything. I'm going to just completely change course and quit. And that's not good. You don't want to quit. You want to keep going. If you want to be successful at anything, it has to continue. It's the long game. The longer you do something, the more chances you're going to have that you're going to have success at it. And in order to do something for a long period of time, man, you got to take breaks. And so that's just kind of a long way to sum up why I kind of took a little break here, about a month. I really needed to just kind of sit still and read books that weren't books about moving forward, but were books about moving inward, and, reconnect with that side of myself. I'm not a religious man, but I am a spiritual guy, whatever the hell that means. I guess that's just a conventional way of saying that I, believe in something deeper than just this surface stuff. And it's important to get in touch with that stuff, from time to time. I do get why people go to church, because then you've got your weekly reminder of the stuff that's truly important underneath all of this surface shit, right? It's complicated. And, I see people that push. And I wonder about their mental health, because it's hard to do that. For me, I'm so driven by my feelings. Like, I'm driven by how I feel, as opposed to, like, if I don't feel like doing something, I usually don't do it. So recently, I just didn't feel like doing the podcast because I just was I was stressed out and burned out, and it was too much. And we had projects, Lumen Brothers had projects that were starting to become more and more time significant, and we're starting to leak into the weekends. And the weekends are when I do the podcast. And, business first, y'all. The podcast is cool and I love doing it, but I got to make sure that we're, this business is succeeding first and foremostly. So that was the focus there. Let's dial back the podcast for a while. Let's get these jobs knocked out. So one of the ones that we took care of was we got to the rough end stage of this really big multifamily dwelling unit in downtown Frederick that we're doing a complete rewire of. So once we got to rough end stage there, we could collect a check and back off while the rest of the teams come in and get their final work done. That bought us some time to, catch up on some other things. So we're getting caught up. We're feeling good. That big multifamily unit was real big. And, those big projects, there's a real big difference between, as you guys know, small projects and big projects, and the way that they function and the way that you get paid on them, and your resources moving in and out, your cash flow changes when you're doing big projects versus small projects. Big projects are a lot of cost up front. There's lots of materials because there's lots of stuff to do. So the majority of your intro deposit goes towards your materials leading up to the project. And then you've got a longer period of time in between that initial deposit and the time that you get your second check. And as for a small company like us, there's 3 of us. That's a long period of time where we've got to, really buckle down at one job, and our other clients kind of take a back seat on a job like that. So we're still trying to dial in our process for big projects versus small. Smaller projects, the cash flow happens more readily. You're in, you're out, nothing more than 3 days, typically 1-day projects, typically half-day projects, and cash flow happens quicker than you're in, you're out, you have the client interaction. On bigger projects, there's this lingering amount of time that the longer that goes, the more demoralized you can get, the longer this seems to take. On the smaller projects, you're in, you're out. If something needs to be fixed, it can be fixed right there, but it doesn't stand in the way of your cash flow. So those are just the kind of differences that we experience, and I know you guys do too, big versus small. Since we're a small company, we don't have many people. We try to stay small in our jobs, but man, every year we take on something that's pretty big just for good measure. And Josh and I talk about this a lot. It's really hard. It's harder, I think, than the smaller jobs, but the lessons that come out of these bigger projects are pretty instrumental in our progress and us developing as electricians, as business owners, as estimators, things like that. These bigger projects are pretty important because they teach us everything from how to communicate better up front, how to help the client understand how to expect, what to expect, when to expect it. Like we experienced some things in this recent big project where we didn't say certain things up front, and that kind of bit us in the ass. And it was like, okay, So because we didn't specify X, Y, or Z, the client is calling us on that and saying, well, you didn't specify X, Y, and Z, so technically you got to kind of, that I felt like that was included, so should it be included, should it not be? Like those are wonderful lessons. You know, you don't know till you know. And we are appreciative of clients that help us understand that too by saying, hey guys, I thought you were going to do this because you didn't specifically say one way or another, right? You were or you weren't. And that's how you learn. You know, there's no real college where you go. I mean, maybe there is, I don't know, where you go and you sit down and you experience these things that we're experiencing in the trades. You know, you do it by jumping in and starting a business and going. You know, Josh and I, we've mentioned it before, we call it tuition. Anytime we've got to pay to learn a lesson, we call it tuition. You know, a lot of people pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for college. Well, we pay our thousands through mistakes. And that's just our way of learning. That's how we get better. And it always feels good on the back end to have come through, to have overcome and done the job, got it done, gotten through the hardship, overcome it, learn the lesson. But, you know, there is the sting of the big project that every time we do another one, there is in the back of my mind, like, man, I'm not sure about this, but, you know, here we are, standing tall. So, yeah, that's what's been going on with Lumen Brothers. Daniel's doing great. Young apprentice Daniel is, he's really picking things up more and more, able to be tasked out more and more. Still learning so much. He's been doing night classes, so that's been helping him out a lot, and I think he feels accomplished even among his peers in the class, because not all of them work for contractors, but he's, this month, Daniel is a year in. So we're going to have to take him out and celebrate, although he's not 21 yet, so that's been challenging. Hiring an apprentice that's not 21, you know, you want to celebrate your milestones with a beer, typically, and poor young guy can't drink. He's got to sit there and watch me and Josh get drunk, which I don't mind. I mean, that's fine. Designated driver. Designated Daniel. That's what we should call him. Old DD. When he turns 21, though, it's gonna be over. Anyway, so that's what's been going on there. We are headed to the NECA convention. That is the National Electrical Convention, and I can't wait. I've never been to one. This is our first year going. It's down in Austin, Texas. So hey, if you guys are going to be in Austin, let me know. Hit us up on Instagram. Let me know who's going to be there. I've already had a couple people reach out and say, hey, we'll be there. I'd love to share a beer with you and meet you in person. It's been 5 years or so since we've been on a social media platform. It's been a couple years since we've done the podcast. So there's a lot of you out there that I've interacted with pretty regularly, and would love to meet you in person, buy you a beer, sit down, record a podcast episode with you, get your story, hear how you got started in the trade, why you love it, what you focus on. So yeah, man, reach out, please. You can email us, email me through the website. You can go to www.modernelectricianpod.com. My email's there. You can contact us through that page. You can contact us via the podcast. If you're listening on Anchor, you can leave a message for us, anchor.fm. What are other ways you can contact us? That's about it. I think Instagram's probably the best way. That's it. Yeah, I mean, we're getting things kicked back up. I'm excited to have some new conversations with people. I'm happy that I took this time off because now I'm rejuvenated. Now I want to do the podcast again, and you guys don't want to hear from me if I'm in a negative space. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants negative Doug. You want positive Doug. And so I will continue to take breaks where needed when I find myself in a burnout spot. If you are experiencing burnout, what are you doing about it? You taking breaks? You being nice to yourself, or you just pushing through saying there's nothing I can do? And look, sometimes there's nothing you can fucking do. You got to get up on a Saturday and Sunday and work, and I get that. We got to do that too. But man, you got to have those things in place where you can stop what you're doing and get back to what it feels like to just be you. It is imperative for your longevity in the world, man. If you're not taking time for yourself, you need to take a break. Set up a vacation. Set it up with your boss, set it up with yourself, whatever you got to do. Take a break. This little NECA trip here down to Austin is going to be a fun little trip for Josh and I. Little break from the work. And that'll be nice. Really looking forward to it. that's about it for today, guys. I just kind of wanted to kick this podcast back off with a little conversation about what we're experiencing right now, why I took a little break, and wanted to get your thoughts on that too, man. Please reach out. I'd honestly love to have more conversations about the concept of burnout, the concept of mental health in the trades. You know, we all are just human beings. You know, it's a hard trade. We're tough guys. We're from tough families. And there's nothing wrong with that either. That's fucking great. We need to be tough to do this kind of work. It's hard work. But you've got to also be nice to yourself. You also got to take breaks, relax. You're just a human, you know, so don't forget that too. If you think you don't need that kind of shit, you're lying to yourself. You're lying right to your own face. And so if you need me to tell you that, I'll tell you that. You're lying to yourself. Take a break. Relax. Feel good again. You remember what it felt like when you first started the trade and you were like, shit, man, look at this. Look at these tools. Wow, I'm learning theory. Electricity's fucking crazy. Remember that stuff when you were first starting and you were like, what the fuck? This is crazy. How do you get back to that? And I know it's kind of impossible to some extent. It's like heroin, you know, you're always chasing the dragon, right? You're always trying to find where your original inspiration came from. But that's a worthwhile endeavor. It's worthwhile to try to find that, right? I mean, we're not just electricians here, we're people. And this is about more than just the work-a-day, hands on the tools type stuff, no matter what your career field is. You're more than that. You know, you're a son or a daughter, you're a mother or a father, you're a brother or a sister, you're a human fucking being. And, you know, while it's cool to be, you know, enamored and entrenched in your passion and the thing that you love, you've got to also show yourself that sort of reverence in order to keep going, I think, and keep going in a healthy way so that you don't wind up one of those bitter guys or bitter people who's out there like, this fucking sucks, I hate this fucking job. If you find yourself pissed off on a daily basis, take a break. If you find yourself, if the things that typically bring you joy are pissing you off, take a break. That is called a touchstone, folks. A touchstone is something that reminds you of something else, right? This is, oh, okay. I typically love communicating with people. If I find myself that's the most frustrating part of my job, it's time to take a break, right? So develop those touchstones for yourself. What are your touchstones? You know, what calls you back to yourself? What are the things that bring you back to a place where you feel good again? Because we all get to those places where we don't feel good. It's very normal. So that's it. I'm just reaching out to say that today. Hope y'all are well. I hope you're looking forward to some new episodes because they're coming your way. I had a few awesome people reach out to me right before I took this break and suggest coming on the show. I can't wait to have you guys on. I know I've spoken to you via email or message. I'll be reaching back out to you soon because I'm looking forward to talking to you. All right, y'all. Have a great day out there. Do good work. We'll talk to you soon.